Okay, we have started the recording. So we're going to get started, and we'll have some late stragglers coming in, but that's okay. We'll catch them up. So, hello, welcome. My name is Mike. I'm the computer guy here at East Chicago Public Library, and today we're going to have a class called Introduction to the Internet. So last week we talked about tablets and smartphones and how these are cloud-based devices, meaning that they require an online internet account to work properly. And everything that you think is on your phone is not really on your phone. It's in an online account, and you're using this to look at things like on the internet. So we started talking about the internet last week, so let's get in a little bit deeper into what the internet is, where it came from, how it works, and the pieces, parts that go with it, like where you can buy internet service, what a router is, stuff like that. We're going to talk about types of internet access. We're going to talk about actually using the internet and the cloud, talk more about the cloud. And then at the end, we're going to talk about what is a browser, okay, and what are web pages and how they work. Next week, we're going to be talking more about the browser. We're going to have a class next week on how to use a modern browser, okay? And when we talk later today about what a browser is, it'll make more sense to you. But the little piece of software that we use to look at web pages on the internet started out a very simple thing, but now the more we use a browser to look at spreadsheets we created or Word or documents we typed and storing passwords, the browser can be pretty complicated now. So next week we'll talk about the whole class is how to use a modern browser, and then talk about some interesting web pages. Why won't the slide move? Give me a second here. There we go. Okay, and this is a reminder, if you need more help, or if there's something in class that we didn't discuss or you didn't quite understand completely, we have a community help desk twice a week here at the main library every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And it is first come, first serve. So anything that you need help with, you can bring in your own devices. But you have to stay with your device at all times. You can't just drop off a device. Hi, Lisa. That's every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 4 at the main library. If for some reason those hours don't work for your schedule, call me. I'm the only Mike here at the main library. You just call and ask for Mike. We can schedule a time that is convenient for you. I'm here every day. I work full-time here at the library as the computer guy. And I just make sure that I have office hours for the public, but if those don't work out for you, we can. Okay. Also, you can look at recordings of this class afterwards, and you can look at a description of all the classes we teach. You can sign up for new classes at our website, www.ecpl.org/classes. All this information is already in the first packet we gave you when we gave you those blue folders. But you can get all of that information on the internet. Okay, so let's talk about what the internet is. And we're going to start by talking about what is a computer network. Okay, a computer network is when you have more than one computer all connected with a wire. Okay. In the early days of computers, if you wanted to get information from one computer to a different computer, you put it on storage, and then you walked it over to the other computer and you loaded it into the other computer. Okay, but eventually they said, well, you know what? Why don't we just run a wire between one computer and the other computer so they can talk to each other? And that was the beginning of computer networks. Okay, the first computer networks were just small 2-3 computers like you see here. Okay. But you can connect as many computers as you want to a network, and they can all talk to each other. They're all connected to each other with a wire they call an Ethernet cable. It looks like the same kind of wire that you use for the telephone. Okay, it's a little clip, a little plastic clip on there, but it's a little fatter. Early telephone wires had 2 wires. Our modern telephone wire has 4 wires. A network wire has 8 wires. Okay, they're not all used. A couple of them are used for power. You can actually run power over a network cable. They have like security cameras. Sometimes, you know how you have a security camera way up high? And, well, sometimes those can be hard to plug in to the power outlet because they're like on the ceiling. You don't normally have a way to plug it in. Well, they have ways that you can run power over an Ethernet cable, and you can run power to things like your security cameras and stuff like that. Okay. But that's what a computer network is. Okay. Transferring information between one computer to the other, or looking at another computer in a room that you've got a wire attached to see what information is on that computer. Now, the internet is a worldwide computer network. Okay. All the computers that attach to the internet, you are connected to all the other computers in the world that are also attached to the internet. Okay. And if you have something on your computer that you want other people to be able to see, you can share that with them. That's what web pages basically are. It's a way to take information on your computer and share it on the internet so other people can look at the information that you shared with them. Okay. Just because you attach your computer to the internet doesn't mean everybody can see your stuff. Okay. You have to specifically have the right kind of software. You have to build a website to make that available to people on the internet for them to see. Okay. So where did it come from? It's actually a lot older than people think, the internet. The internet came online in 1969, which is the year I was born. And I'm going to be 56 here coming up in December. So that's been around for a long time. We didn't get to use it back then. It was strictly military. It was U.S. military. And it was a reaction to Russia putting the first satellite into space. If you're old enough to remember Sputnik in the 50s, that was a pretty big deal. I wasn't around, but I've read a lot about it. So it was the Cold War, and we had nuclear weapons. And people in this country were very afraid. You know, we could protect ourselves from Russia if they put a nuclear bomb on an airplane, because we had radar and we could see the planes coming. But if they put a nuclear bomb on a satellite in space, they could drop it from space. How do we protect ourselves from that? So they moved ahead in the space race with Sputnik, and President Eisenhower at the time said, you know what we need? We need a communications network in this country that's like a web. Okay? And they designed the early internet. It was called ARPANET. And it was a web of communication all around the country. So if the Russians were to successfully blow a gigantic nuclear hole in the middle of the country, they would still be able to communicate West Coast to East Coast. That was the kind of idea of it originally. It was a communications network, and computers used this communications network. I got to use the early internet when I was in college. In 1988, I went to Ball State University, and since this early internet was government, they opened it up to universities. Government agencies and universities could use it, but that's it. I was able to go down to the computer lab in college, and I could use early email, and I could send messages to friends who were at IU or at Purdue. Okay, we could message each other. Now, it was kind of just a novelty, right? It was kind of fun to play with because we were young and we kind of were into computers. But really, I just had a telephone in my dorm. I could just call them. It would be a lot easier than traipsing down to the computer lab. But early internet, that's where it came from. It came online in 1969. Okay. Hello. But it wasn't until 1989 that a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee, that's him on the left there. The early internet, you could connect computers to each other and you could send email messages to users on the internet, but there was no good, easy way to share information from your computer and have other people find it on the internet. It was very difficult. So in 1989, Tim Berners-Lee invented something called a browser. Okay? A browser is a piece of software that runs on your computer that just lets you look at information on other computers that are attached to the internet. That's what a browser is. Okay? He also invented a computer language that would make it easy for us to find things on this new internet using our browser. And he called that hypertext transfer protocol. Big word. But you've seen it before, because in the early internet up at the top, you'd see HTTP. It'd always start with that. That's the language that you're using to communicate with your browser on the internet. So Tim Berners-Lee made it a lot easier for us to find things on the internet and pull up web pages and look at them by inventing the browser and inventing the hypertext transfer protocol. But it wasn't actually until around 1991 and the High Performance Computing Act, which was a piece of legislation that was sponsored by then Senator Al Gore before he was vice president. So apparently the story goes that he had a meeting with some of the engineers that built that early internet, the early ARPANET. And he was intrigued and he said, well, does that have the capacity for public use, public and private use, you know, like private businesses and people to use? And they said, yeah, we could actually open that communication up to everybody. And that's when the internet. Now, so, and if you're old enough to remember when Al Gore ran for president, they gave him a lot of grief for saying that he invented the internet. He did not invent the internet. It came online years before. But he was very instrumental in bringing it to the public as we know it today, right? He sponsored the High Performance Computing Act of 1991 that took the internet from being just government, because the internet came online in 1969, and it opened it up for all of us to use, is what he did. And then not long after that, 92, is he was elected vice president with Bill Clinton. So that's where the internet came from. It's been around since 1969, a military ARPANET, which was a reaction to the Sputnik satellite going up, and then a combination of Tim Berners-Lee creating a browser and a language for us to use easily on the internet, and Al Gore to bring it to the public, brings us to where the internet is today. Okay. So now we're going to talk about different types of internet access. If you want to get internet at home, these are all the different types of internet that you can choose from. The early internet was only dial-up telephones that used a modem. I know. The modem was a modulator demodulator. Modem is what that is. And they were slow, and you hooked them up to the telephone line, and they could easily get confused if somebody else in the house picked up the phone, right? Remember all the phones were all connected to each other back then? And it didn't take too long before we really maxed out the amount of information that could be pushed through a telephone line. Okay? Topped it out. Couldn't go any faster. So then somebody had the idea of, hey, let's let's create a DSL internet, which stood for digital subscriber line. So that was still over the phone line. But what they did is they put a box on either side, and this box would compress the information into a much smaller size, then send it through the phone line, and then the box on the other side would uncompress it. So that effectively increased the speed of the internet over the telephone lines. You can still get DSL internet today. I think if you have an AT&T landline, you can call them and they'll give you a DSL box. You can get internet that way still. And it's pretty fast. It does a pretty good job. It's not as fast though as cable. We all remember when cable came about back in the 80s. So they ran these thick copper lines out to everybody's home for cable TV, and then they realized, well, we can also put internet on that same wire. So if you have a cable, coax cable line being run to your house, you can get internet from Comcast is our cable provider in the area. So that's an option. Yeah, right. So Comcast is the company, and they branded their internet service as Xfinity by Comcast is what that is. Different parts of the country have different Cox Cable is in the south, southeast. Nowadays, we can also get internet connections from a cell phone tower wirelessly. So these modern computers, these smartphones, can get internet communicating from the cell phone tower. And they call it 4G and 5G. G stands for generation. 4th generation wireless internet, 5th generation wireless internet.
I was like, it was the gig.
It's not. It can be, but normally that is written GB. Yeah, if it's a capital G and a capital B, it's gigabyte. If it's a capital G and a little b, it's gigabit.
Okay.
Which is 8 times, a gigabyte is 8 times bigger than a
That's
bit.
the part I didn't understand.
Right.
In the data.
That's correct. So when we start talking, when we get halfway through these classes and we do hands-on classes, then when we start learning about using a home computer, then I talk about how we measure data in megabytes and gigabytes. But 4G and 5G does not stand for the gig. It stands for generation, and it's only for wireless internet on the cell phones. We're currently on 5G, 5th generation. It's a lot faster than 4G.
I think the phone companies need to do more work on advertising there, because that's how I was understood that it was gigabytes, because they're not, when they're selling you the phone, they're like, oh, you want to go with the 5G and not the 4G, and you know, I'm like, well, makes it run faster. See, so they led me to believe that it was the speed on the phone.
It is. The 5th generation is a lot faster than the 4th generation, but it's not how much data you're getting. Comcast actually got in trouble recently because they were kind of blurring the lines and muddying the waters about this 4 and 5G. They were advertising 9G, but they were using the G as gigabytes. They were advertising it as gigabytes, and it made it sound like, well, I've only got 5G on my phone. I'm going to get 9G from Comcast. Well, they made them stop because they said that's misleading.
Find out how many gigabytes or how data on your computer. How do you find that out?
How much storage you have, or how much data you're getting over the internet?
How much data?
Well, there's something called a speed test that you can run on your phone or on your computer. You can open up your browser, or you can just do a search on your phone and go speed test.
Okay.
And what speed test does is it will download a temporary file and it'll measure the speed. Oh, are this your first class?
No.
Did you just not bring your book?
I just didn't bring my book. I was from a doctor's appointment.
That's fine. I'll give you paper you can use.
Okay.
You can have
Yeah, I signed in.
All right.
I signed
you
in.
got an insert.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a plastic.
Okay.
You need to answer that?
Okay. And you said I need to go where? What's the,
Speed test. Just search for a speed test on the internet. We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
We just learn how to do it.
My,
Yeah.
my picture just said that. I was using it because I thought it was just a phone.
This is your phone. Yeah, we'll run it.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. These new pens have a little plastic nub, so you don't get ink on them. They come out.
Okay, what were we saying again about the, photo where?
the speed test?
You can just Google search a speed test, and by the end of today, you'll know how to do that.
Okay.
I did a speed test, and I'm connected wirelessly to the Wi-Fi here at the library, and I'm getting an 83.5 MB megabits per second download,
Okay.
which is very fast.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to watch high definition video, you're going to need about 4 or 5 megabits per second download to get that reliably. So here, wirelessly, I get 84, which is pretty good. But I'm also wireless. If I were to do a speed test on a computer here in the library plugged into the internet, we have a 1 gigabit connection to the internet. So it'll be a lot faster.
More to be able to go fast. How will we make it run fast?
Well, when you go and purchase internet
Okay.
from one of these companies,
Okay.
they'll oftentimes sell you more data
Okay.
for more money.
Okay.
So if you go to Comcast and you get like the cheapest plan that Comcast has, that's around 50 megabits per second.
Okay.
And now I'm a computer guy,
Okay.
and we have a high definition. We have a couple HD TVs in the house, my partner Julie and I, but we don't have kids, and we don't really game online. Gaming online will take a lot of that. So 50, the lowest level on Comcast was plenty for us.
Okay.
We watched TV through the internet, and we use the internet all the time. We had multiple devices, and the 50 was just fine. You really only need to get more than that if you have a big family or if you got kids in the house that are gaming online, because that gaming online can really take a lot of that. They call it bandwidth. The amount of data they can get through a pipe or through the air, that's what they call bandwidth.
Well, I'm just wondering, for my laptop, tell me the speed and stuff like that.
Right.
Because I'm trying to learn how to use what is it? To download pictures and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Like video editing, photo editing, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Videos can be big.
Okay.
Videos are a lot of data.
Okay.
So when you get an internet connection on your cell phone, sometimes they sell you a cheaper plan that only gives you like 2 gigabytes worth of data a month.
Okay.
For most people, that's fine. If you watch a lot of video on your phone, you're going to use that 2 gigabytes up real quick. And then they're going to charge you more. Normally, it's like $10 more a month for each gigabyte. For your,
You're on your games, on your phone, you have game apps to download that uses a lot of games. But FaceTime uses.
Not always, really. FaceTime will. FaceTime is video going over that wire. That's a lot of bandwidth. Video is a lot of bandwidth. See, when I say gaming, the kids
Right.
and some adults, I don't want to just say it's kids, will play video games with other people on the internet. So they're playing the game at the same time. That's what takes up a lot of that internet space. If they're playing a game at home, not with other people online, then it's probably not taking up any bandwidth at all.
You have those games on your phone also.
Right, and if they're not playing with other people, then it's probably not using any data. It's when they're playing with other people. So you can get on a game and you can play with all of your friends at different homes. No, solitaire's not doing anything. Yeah, but there are some games where, and I'll play games a little bit. I don't, modern games are amazing.
Right.
And they're educational too. They're nice educational tools for kids. It's not all just play these days. These That's true. That is true. And it's for fun too. I mean, it's not just educational, it's for both. But they can connect with other people and they can see their friends in the game. And if you've ever done it, it's really kind of fun. My buddy Mike in Chicago, he just walk into the game that I'm playing. I'm like, hey, and you can talk to each other. It's pretty interesting. But also, when you're talking about more speed, sometimes if you've got a really old laptop, the little receiver that gets the Wi-Fi signal, and we'll talk about Wi-Fi and how that works. If that's old, it's probably not set. It's probably not fast enough to get as much Wi-Fi as you can get.
So how do you know that?
Well, Wi-Fi, and we'll talk about Wi-Fi in a little bit. Wi-Fi has standards too. So just like the wireless internet you're getting through a cell phone tower, they call it 4G or 5G. Wi-Fi, they give it numbers too. So if you look at your laptop, you can look up the specs in your laptop, and it'll say, "Oh, you've got a Wi-Fi version 4 capable laptop, but you may be trying to communicate with a router that's giving you a Wi-Fi version 6, which is a lot faster. So your bottleneck is your laptop. You get a new laptop that talks Wi-Fi 6 to your wireless router that talks Wi-Fi 6, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Then you're going to get the fastest speed. So just because you got fast internet coming in the house doesn't necessarily mean that wirelessly your laptop's getting as fast as it could. There could be a bottleneck there. But that's also something that we can help in the help desk. What was that?
I said, yeah, because it possibly goes in there.
Yeah. And you know what? Come into help desk, because everybody's situation is a little different.
Right.
And not only do we help people shop for internet if they've never had internet, but we can look at your device, we can look at the service you have, and we can figure out how you can get a faster speed.
Okay.
Because it can be a little different for everybody.
If I could get, if I could have like a data plan or something like that for the MacBook or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. So this 5G, 5G is so fast that if I disconnect my phone from the Wi-Fi here at the library, where I was getting 85 megabits,
Okay.
when I disconnect from my Wi-Fi, well, now I'm connected to Verizon in 5G, which is the most recent. I'm going to do a speed test now,
Okay.
connected to Verizon, and see how fast I go.
Not bad.
About the same.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the 90s.
Okay.
I was 83 before I'm 90 here. But that also probably has to do a lot with how close I am to the cell phone tower. Because when I'm at home, I get over 100
Really?
through the cell phone tower, through 5G. But it depends on,
Speed to
You
someone.
must have a tower near you.
I'm also surrounded by brick and metal, which is going to affect the wireless signals. There's lots of things that go into that. But, so if you notice, they'll give you this little box to get 5G internet for your house at home. Notice how it's stuck to a window?
Yeah.
Because you need to walk. So when I got one of these for home. I moved from Comcast to Verizon because Verizon gave me a good deal. The deal was, and I think there's other ones like AT&T and T-Mobile do this too. In my Verizon plan, if you have unlimited data on your phone, that's only $25 a month, which is a good deal. I mean, it's a little bit more for the phone, but then you have unlimited data here. You could, if you have unlimited data plan on your phone, then you can get that and it's no contract. It's another nice thing about the Verizon and T-Mobiles that do this thing. If you use it for a few months and don't like it or don't get a good signal in your house, you're not locked into a contract like Comcast.
Right.
Comcast is like, oh, we'll give you a real good deal for a year, if you promise to sign up for 2 years. Yeah,
It's
artists.
like with my internet, I guess, because I got the package, the internet for, high-speed internet for the home and on my phone.
But Verizon?
No, AT&T.
Oh, AT&T? Okay.
They gave me, I don't pay, there's certain things and stuff that I don't pay for because the package together and everything like that. And I was wondering why the guy, when they installed it, I have my computer desk by the window. And so when he installed the box, he left the box up on my computer table right by the window,
Yeah.
you know. And so he gave me enough wire to put it in a place in the house.
Okay.
So, you know, he had it connected up and everything. And so I saw the extra wire that he had rolled up and stuff like that and then set it up.
Yeah. So they told me when I got mine, they said, you might want to test different windows in the house. So when I brought home my box, I plugged it into the wall, turned it on, connected wirelessly to that little box with my phone in the living room, did a speed test. And then I moved it to the family room, did a speed test. And then I moved it to the back of the house and did a speed test. And it was really fast in the back of the house. So it was like, oh, well, the cell phone tower must be back there. So I left it back there in the back of the house. And we all connect to it wirelessly in the house now. But that's how that works.
I think I'll try that.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to go. The other type of internet access that we can get nowadays is called fiber optic. Now, and that is a little thin strand of glass that can really efficiently transfer internet data using light through long distances. So here at the library, we've got a 2 gigabit fiber optic connection here. But, you know, we are a public library, so that means that I could potentially have 6 kids on computers. I could have a dozen adults on computers. Plus, we got, 30 some employees in this building who could all be using the internet at the same time.
The military went because of so many people, so many computers and stuff that they use. They went to fiber optic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they have the equipment and the speed that it gives, especially when you're talking about aircraft on one computer and in the next of the aircraft. You guys are surprised at how many computers go into an aircraft and the information comes out in the form of digital information when it's received.
Yeah.
What they call ADI. So it's very useful. And it can take up, you got a lot of people can take.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people can connect and use it. It's got a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And you can get it for your home. As a matter of fact, in Portage, where I live, they were starting to put little notices in my mailbox saying, hey, there's fiber connection right outside now. So if you want fiber optic as your home internet solution, you can get it. I looked into it for the lowest tier, which was super, super fast. I want to say the lowest tier on Comcast was like 50 megabits per second. I want to say the lowest tier on the fiber was 500. But it was like $80, $90 a month.
Yeah.
But for that much bandwidth, that's a good deal. But if you're going to use it. So if you have a big family and you're paying a lot for your internet through Comcast or something with a lot of bandwidth, this might be a better option if it's available in your area. And getting a fiber optic, it is a wire. It's a piece of glass. So I've heard that if you do have a fiber optic connection in your home, that it can raise the value of your home a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it is infrastructure into your home. You sell it, you can say, hey, I've already got fiber optic run to the house. They do. They have big fiber optic cables laying on the floor of the ocean to communicate the internet with Europe and the United States. Yeah.
How you get in your house?
They kind of run it like the cable TV used to run it. Remember, you call the cable company and say, I want cable TV, and they'd send the guy out and so I think some of the fiber optic cable is underground, but some of it is on the telephone poles,
Yeah, it
Right.
like cable.
coincides with,
Okay.
cable and
Yeah.
internet
You
telephone.
would get that, what company did you call for the service?
So much like the cable company, there's
Okay.
probably only one fiber optic company in your area. You'd have to just Google search fiber optic in East Chicago in your area. Right. So I don't know. There might be some neighborhoods in East Chicago that have it.
Okay,
Portage, we just got it last summer.
okay,
So it's a fairly new thing,
okay.
where I'm at. And we're right by the tollway. So
Okay,
we're not that far away, and we're not like in a fancy neighborhood or anything. We're just, huh? No, because this isn't government. This is private, a private company. So yeah, when fiber optic is run to your house, you're going to be paying a private company like Comcast or AT&T. They're going to come out. They're going to run the fiber into your house the same way they ran the cable. They'll give you a little box on the wall inside the house, and then that's how you get your internet through them. Okay, so when you do get internet, you order internet, they give you a router. Okay, and you got to think of a router as like a splitter for the internet, is what it is. Okay, so in the old days, you remember you have a landline, and some of us still have a landline. If somebody upstairs picked up the phone, you could hear what you were saying on the phone downstairs. Computers don't work that way, because if you had like 5 computers all hooked up to the internet, and one computer said, I want to look at the CNN website, well, then all the computers in the house would show the CNN website, and that's not going to work. So a router is like a more intelligent splitter for the internet. It keeps track of each computer separately. It gives it a unique number, is what it does to keep it. So when the computer you're sitting at has a unique number, number one, when you attach your computer to the router to get internet, your computer says, well, give me a unique number to identify me on my network. So what this router is it's giving you a small computer network in your house. And the router is like a bridge between your internal network and the internet on the outside. Okay, that's what the router is. But it is essentially a splitter for the internet, and it runs on these Ethernet cables. When laptops came out, most laptops still today have an Ethernet port in the laptop. So you can plug the wire right into the side of the laptop, and that's where you're going to get your best speed at home. If you can get close to your router with your laptop and just plug the wire in, that's going to be the best speed, because you're not going to be limited by the possibility you have an older Wi-Fi receiver in your laptop. But it's not portable anymore, and the whole point of a laptop was to be portable, right? So what they ended up doing is they came out with a wireless router. So a wireless router, you can still see those little plugs in the back of it there? You can still plug a wire in to a wireless router, but they also have little antennas that the same data that goes over that wire is now broadcast like an FM radio out of these antennas, and there's a receiver in your laptop and in your phone that can receive it wirelessly. So that's what a wireless router is. It takes the same internet information that was going over that wire here, but it broadcasts it wirelessly through the house. So these devices can be mobile. So you can walk into the backyard and still get on the internet with your laptop if you want to, or go out on the front porch or whatever, right? This is what an IP address looks like. That's the unique number that your computer gets when you connect to the internet. It's got 4 chunks of numbers, and normally the first 3 chunks of numbers are all the same. It's the last number that identifies you on the network. So when you plug your desktop computer into the router, it'll give it the number 192.168.1.2. And then the laptop will connect to the router, and it'll give it, it'll say, well, I need a unique number for the laptop to communicate on the internet. It'll give it the next number up, the 3. You don't really,
The number on the quarter on the box,
the IP address?
those numbers that you're connecting the computer to the box.
Yeah, so the box gives it, the box assigns it when you connect. So when you disconnect, the box will say, oh, well, somebody else could use this number now. So it's going to change, right? It can change in the house. It might not be the same. And it's also one of those things that you really, most of the time, you don't need to know what it is or how it works. It's very rare that somebody will need to see that IP address.
Right.
But so, see, the top computer got the number 2 and the bottom computer got the number 3, right? So if I disconnect the bottom computer from the internet, then the router says, oh, well, 3 is now available, so I can connect my phone. It might then give my phone the 3. And then the next time I connect my laptop, the phone's already got the 3, it'll give the laptop 4. It doesn't matter, really, as long as anytime you connect your computer to a network, a wireless network, whether it's in your own home or whether you go to McDonald's and hop on their Wi-Fi, right? Or you go to a hotel and they got wireless internet, you hop on theirs. The first thing your computer does when it connects, it says, give me an IP address to uniquely identify me on the network. And you don't need to know what it is. The router manages it. The router says, okay, well, nobody else is using this number. You can have this one, and you'll just continue to have this number while you're on this network.
What internet you're trying to connect with, like being under someone's name, Linda's or David's, or, they all might have the internet.
Right.
So it'll show you.
That's not an IP address. That's called an SSID. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, actually, an SSID, let me see if I can get that up. I'm going to, that's a big picture of me. Let me close this. I want to see if I can share a window. Share the entire screen. Okay. All right. So on your computer, you have this little see that?
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, it looks like waves coming out.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's the international symbol for Wi-Fi, is what that is. You'll see it on your phone, you'll see it on your computer. If you were to click with your mouse right there, so that's the receiver in the laptop that can see Wi-Fi. So when I click on that little thing with my mouse, I'll show you what that looks like. What it does is it shows that I'm connected to the Wi-Fi called ECPL staff. All right. And when I click on this, it'll look in the air to see what wireless networks are available to it, right? Is what this is doing, because it's like a radio receiver for the internet. So now that wireless router doesn't go very far. If you have a wireless router at home, your neighbors can probably see a very weak signal, but like the house on the other side of your neighbors probably can't see it at all. Right. And if you see a little lock next to it here, see a little lock there, that means it's password protected. That means that you're going to need a password to get on the Wi-Fi. Most restaurants, McDonald's and bars and other restaurants, they're cafes and Starbucks where people sit down for a long time with a laptop. They'll oftentimes have the password written down, or you have to ask somebody because they want you to be a paying customer to use it. Hotels, same thing. But like, look at our guests, doesn't have a lock on it at all. And this is also showing you how good the connection is. If I scroll down, I might be able to see like neighbors. See, there's a hidden network here that's very weak.
Yeah.
So it might be coming from like the school back here, or maybe one of the houses. When I'm in the front of the building, I can see more. I can see like the bank across the street a little bit. I can see their thing. But I wouldn't be able to connect to it because there's a lot. Yeah. And if you let your neighbors use it, I wouldn't recommend that. And I'll tell you why. When the wireless internet first came out, I did not put a password on it. I let the neighbors use it for free. I didn't care because they're not seeing what's on my computer. They're just using my internet connection. And not really, because they're so far away, they're not getting a very good signal. So the amount of internet they're getting from my router in my house is going to be like a trickle. So I wasn't really worried about them. And this is a long time ago too. So back then there wasn't a lot. They weren't watching videos online back then anyway. So I thought, I don't care if my neighbors use it. But then people started realizing that they could do illegal things on the internet using somebody else's Wi-Fi. So like so that IP address that I showed you, that IP address is tied to your computer, right? So when you're doing stuff online, other people can see your IP address, but they don't know who's using it. The only person who can tie that IP address to you is your internet service provider, the people that you're paying money to get internet from. So Comcast knows. So when you connect at home, you connect to your Wi-Fi at home, Comcast knows what number you got.
Yeah.
So when you're on the internet and you're looking for child pornography, which is illegal, the FBI can see your IP address. They don't know who it is, but if you're doing something illegal, they can go to a court and they can say, we want a warrant to ask Comcast who is using this IP address at this time and date, because we have proof that this person was doing something illegal online. And if the judge looks at it and goes, yeah, that's illegal, then they give a warrant to the police to go to Comcast and say, here's a warrant. We need to know who was using that IP address at this time, because they were looking for child pornography. So what was happening is people who wanted to do illegal stuff, they drive around the neighborhood looking for unlocked Wi-Fi, and they'd park in front of that house and they do a bunch of stuff. And then the FBI, next week would be banging on the door going, this IP address was doing illegal stuff. And they would say, well, it wasn't me. I just have mine unlocked for everybody to use. So when stuff like that started happening, then we started password protecting our stuff to not let our neighbors, because, before that, we didn't think that they'd be doing something illegal, but yeah.
I live across from one.
Yeah.
People come to use their Wi-Fi.
Right.
And I didn't know what was going on. And it would be 2 o'clock in the police are sitting out there.
Yeah.
In the city you got the citywide Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that work with the pipe?
For people doing illegal stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one way they can get away with it.
Okay.
It's the same thing with the library. So for example, and I've had this happen before. I mean, you can possibly imagine that people have come into the library and tried to use our computers for illegal things. And I had the FBI walk into my office one day and go, I need that computer.
Wow.
I'm like, okay.
During the day.
Well, right. So most of the time we can tie that back if you used your library card to log into the computer. Because now I got a digital record in the back. And I have a library card that was used to log into that computer. But that doesn't always work, because you can ask for a guest pass. Right? We do have security cameras, and the FBI have come in here looking for, we need to look at your security cameras. We had somebody come into the library, they got a guest pass, they sat down at the computer, they did something illegal, and we need to see who that was. They can look at our cameras if they use the guest pass. But see, that is often up to our director's discretion. So Miss Marla Span, when the cops come in, I don't say, oh, go ahead and take the computer. I go ask Marla. Say, and we have a relationship with the police. The police need to come over here for, trouble. There was a fight in the children's department yesterday. So, so that happens sometimes. So, but it's up to the director's discretion. But if it's illegal, most of the time she's going to say, yeah, take the computer, do what you need to do. Depends. If it's sexual in nature, like child pornography, I had the FBI show up. And
A bomb. Learning how to make a bomb.
Well, learning how to make a bomb is not illegal. Making the bomb is. Learning how to make a bomb is not illegal. No. Well, okay, so if you're old enough to, and we're probably all old enough in here to remember 9/11.
Right.
So after 9/11, something called the Patriot Act passed. And part of the Patriot Act said that the FBI can come into a library and demand to see the reading list of books for that very reason. That upset a lot of librarians, because as a public library, we cannot restrict what you read. We are the government, and it would be infringing on your free speech to tell you what you could and could not read here at the library.
You don't have to go to the library. You can go on Google and Google up on how to make a book.
Absolutely. But even more so at the library. So we do have a filter on our internet. So it is filtering adult websites, filtering hate speech, filtering firearms and guns, and gambling. But if anybody in here really wanted to see those sites, I would have to let you see it. And if we don't, you could sue us for infringing on your rights.
Yep.
And that's happened before. The case that most librarians talk about was in South Carolina. There were some high school students who were questioning their sexuality. They thought they might be gay. So they went to the school computer and they were trying to access information about LGBTQ, about sexuality. It wasn't pornography that they were looking at. It was information about being gay. Well, the school locked that up. So the students went to the administration and said, this is not adult material. This should be information I should have access to. They said no. So they were sued and they lost. And they had to pay $1 million to these kids for restricting that information to those children. It was not adult material. It was information that they should have had. And the school, like this, is a government. It's part of the government. And that's what free speech is. The government cannot restrict what you want to read, even if it's about making a bomb. You are legally allowed to read about making a bomb. It's illegal to make the bomb, right? But it's not illegal on how to use it. So. That's their. So there is a process here at the library if you want to challenge a book that we have on the shelf. Because a library isn't all the books, right? A library is a curated set of books that are pretty much decided on by professional librarians, like Marla Spann, our library director. She has a master's degree in library science. It's not easy. You just can't become a librarian. You have to go through higher education for that to happen. And not only that, is she is required to continually get educated by the state, and she has to be licensed by the state to be a librarian. So librarians, like our director and a lot of other librarians we have working here, they are experts in copyright law, they are experts in free speech and privacy, and they will do everything they can to protect your right to read what you want to read. So what happens is, you've been reading in the news that some people are challenging books that are on the shelves. Well, they're allowed to do that, but the board of directors so there's a process that goes along with that. If somebody comes into the library and says, I don't like this book, I don't think you should be circulating that book, well, they have to, in writing, tell us what in the book was offensive. And then we take it to the director, and the director takes it to our board of directors, and they make a decision based on the challenge whether that should be taken off. But like I said, librarians, we cannot restrict what people read, right? So there's got to be a really good reason why somebody's challenging it for it to be taken off. Yeah.
Speaking on the same subject, because I know up in Florida that governor there, he has challenged a lot of books, and he has asked the libraries and stuff like that, especially when he started talking about slavery.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's in step with this man that's in office. But what they're seem to me, is like they're trying to restrict certain parts of our history and only to include maybe this part of what history is about. And that's not what this country grew up on. I mean, each race has brought something to this country. And each race has given something unique to this country to build this country to what it is now.
Right. So when those things do get challenged, and when Ron DeSantis passed some of those laws are actively being challenged, and they probably will not hold up to scrutiny fortunately we have three branches, co-equal branches of government, and we just have to rely on the judicial branch to look at that and go, that's not constitutional. And unfortunately, and I think the current administration and some of the people in the states who are passing these laws, they know that it probably won't stand up to scrutiny, but they're doing it anyway because, well, first of all, there's going to be a period of time where it's going to scare people into taking things off the shelves. There has been teachers fired for having books on the shelves at some of those schools. Well, I'm sure that those teachers have active lawsuits going to challenge that, because that is,
Is that part of free speech?
it is part of free speech. But what I think is happening is the current administration and some of the people in power are trying to push the envelope to see where that line is. They would love to go over that line, but they know they can't go over that line. As a matter of fact, originally Congress passed a law saying that libraries had to restrict internet access to everybody who comes to the library so they wouldn't see things. Supreme Court struck it down, said it was unconstitutional. So they tried to do it a couple more times, and it kept getting struck down by the court, saying you cannot restrict information through the library system or the school. You cannot do that. It is unconstitutional. So what Congress then did was they said, okay, we're going to pass a law that says if you do, as a library, if you filter the internet, we'll pay for the internet bill for you. And they do. It's called E-rate. So 90% of the cost of the fiber internet that comes into this library is being paid for by the government because we filter the information on the internet. We are not required to filter that information. And some libraries don't, even for children. Some libraries keep it all open and they say, we'll pay the internet bill ourselves because we don't think it should be. Most libraries take that. But see, like I said, if you went out there and you tried to pull up information that was blocked, you could come to me and say, I need to see this information. And I could take you to a study room with a laptop and I could open it up and you could see what you need to see. I cannot restrict you from looking at that information. Primarily, I mean, we can have policies in the library. We have a policy that you cannot be looking at pornography in the public area. You know, that's just a policy because that's not what that's for. You know, we can ask you to leave if you're looking at pornography in a public area like that. But as we know, there are some reasons why pornography may be looked at from an educational or scientific standpoint. There's like the Kinsey report, which was a famous report on sexuality out of Indiana University, where they looked at different types of pornography, but not to get excited about it, but to study it and to learn about human nature and stuff like that. So there are reasons for those things to happen. And we can't restrict that, but we can have a policy that says, no, you just can't be looking at pornography out there. That's against the rules. Just like, you know, we try to accommodate homeless in the library. You know, there are homeless people and they come in and they use our bathrooms to clean up. We have little kits that we can give them, little cleaning up kits and stuff like that. And we try our best, but you know, sometimes a homeless person comes in here and they just smell terrible, right? And they're disruptive to other people in the library because of their unfortunate situation. And that's another policy we have. We have to, I'm sorry, but you know, you're disrupting. So we can have policies, but in the long run, we are the government and we cannot restrict what you look at, what you do, although we can have policies. So, all right, let's get to what a web page is. Okay. Talked about types of internet, where it came from. A web page is something that somebody that created on their computer and they shared it for everybody else who is connected to the internet to look at. You could do it on a laptop. You know, any kid with a laptop can create their own web page and they can share it on the internet for anybody to look at. It's not that hard to do. If you're good with computers, it's pretty easy to do. Take some special software, take some configuration. But if you're running it off a laptop, not too many people are going to be able to see it at the same time, you know. So once websites become popular and get a lot of hits, then they move them to a bigger computer. Okay. But early web pages were very static things. They were pictures, text, and links to other pages, like a book, is pretty much all they were. And a hyperlink is a little blue underlined link. And if you float your mouse pointer over it, it looks like a little hand. And that's showing you that if you click on that, it's going to take you to a different page on the internet. That's what that is. So early websites were just that. They were advertisements, you know, like your insurance company could put up a website and say, well, this is my address, this is my phone number, this is the services I provide. It's like an online billboard, early internet, okay? This is what Tim Berners-Lee, that British scientist, came up with. A language on how to find web pages on the internet easily. And they call that HTTP, or they call it the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If you wanted to look at the library's website, we went out and we paid for what they call a domain name. www.ecpl.org is our domain name. We bought it. It's like $7 a year. It's not very expensive. And you can all go out and buy a domain name if it's not already purchased. I early on bought my last name as a domain name just to have it, ashbach.com. It's nice. It's only 6 letters long. I still have it. I still pay for it. $7 a year. It's not that expensive. And that's how that would be your web page name if you had something on your computer, if you had a website that you wanted to build and share for other people to look at, this is how they could get to it. They would type in this information into a browser, that piece of software that Tim Berners-Lee invented. You type that in and you hit enter, and it'll show you our library's website. Nowadays, we don't have to type in HTTP. In the early days, we did. We had to type in HTTP for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, a colon, a forward slash, and a forward slash, and www. You don't have to type that in anymore. As a matter of fact, HTTP is assumed. www is also now assumed. So you could go into a browser and you can type in ecpl.org, and it'll open up the library's website. And now if you look up there, you'll see it written all this way. But you don't have to type all that the beginning stuff in anymore. All you have to type in is that. That is what we call a domain name. And you can go on the internet and you can just buy a domain name and keep it. In the early days, some people went out and bought and just hoarded them, hoping that someday somebody would want to pay good money for it, like cars.com or hotels.com, right? And those people cashed in, right? Now, somebody went out and bought Coca-Cola.com before Coca-Cola did, and they tried to sell it for Coca-Cola for like $1 million. And Coca-Cola said, we own that trademark. You can't just go buy that. So the government sided with Coca-Cola and told the guy, no, you got to give it to them. If it was hotels.com, nobody owns that trademark. But if you're trying to buy, if you buy a copywritten name just to try and hold it hostage for money, that wasn't working. Now, a domain name is just where the website sits, but your website can have multiple pages to it, right? They call a longer string to designate a particular page on a website. They call that a URL. And that's another long word. It's called Uniform Resource Locator. They don't use the whole word. They'll say URL. So if somebody wants you to go to their website, they'll say, well, go to my domain, ecpl.org. Or if they want you to go to a specific page on a website, they'll say, go to the URL, ecpl.org/classes. And what that will take you to is that'll take you to the computer classes page of the library's website. So when it's just ecpl.org or cnn.com, that's what we call a domain name. When it's a little longer to designate a particular page, they call that a URL. What is a browser? Okay, Tim Berners-Lee created this little piece of software called a browser. I think I have a video on here. Me too. Okay, so this is an old video. Internet Explorer doesn't even exist anymore. Internet Explorer was the browser that came with a Windows computer. So if you went and bought a Windows computer, it automatically came with Internet Explorer already on it as the little piece of software that allows you to look at websites. Okay. It was pretty slow and clunky. It didn't do a very good job. And Google originally was just a website. Okay. Google.com was a website called, it was a type of website called a search engine. Okay. If you know the name of the website you want to look at, you can just type it in the top of the address bar and hit enter, and it'll open that website. If you want to read the news on CNN.com, you can type in CNN.com, hit enter, and it'll open CNN.com and you can read the news. If you want to see the library's website, you can type in ecpl.org and hit enter. But what if you didn't know the name of the library's website? That's when a search engine comes in handy, because a search engine like Google, you can just type in East Chicago Public Library and it'll give you a list of search results. Right, so early search engines didn't give you those results in any good order, right? And I would hear people say all the time when the internet, I was a computer guy when the internet first started coming out. And they would say, the internet's great, but I can't find anything, right? I type in Jackie Chan and I get returned 50,000 websites and they're in no order. And I just can't, I can't find anything, okay? Google was an early search engine. That's what they did. They just searched the internet for keywords that you typed in, okay? But they were really some of the first ones to organize it in a useful way. They came up with something they call a page rank, right? So the most important web pages got to the top. They don't tell you exactly how they determine the page rank. They keep it private because everybody wants their web page to be at the top, right? So they try not to. Basically what it is they look at, they have little pieces of software called little spiders or bots, and they just go around the internet looking at websites and copying the data and indexing all the information on all these websites out there. If the library's website has a lot of other websites linking to it, that's going to make our website go up higher, right, in the list of search results. If I've got a lot of garbage and spam junk on my website, it's going to push it down. Okay. The more people hit my website after they do a search, it's going to make it go up, right? So Google in the early days, all of a sudden you could go to Google, search for something, and the most relevant websites would be towards the top. It made it a lot easier to find. So Google became very popular. And the other search engines around back then were Yahoo.com was a search engine. They're still around. MSN was an early Microsoft network, which their search engine, I think it's still around. Microsoft was Bill Gates. Yeah. Yeah, he's not really with it anymore. He got rich and he moved on. And he's probably involved in some way. But he's not head of the company. So now Microsoft's search engine, like Google.com or Yahoo.com, where you just type in keywords, they call theirs Bing now. It was called MSN, and then they changed it to Bing. They were hoping people would, they were jealous of Google because people would say Google became like a verb, right? Yeah. When you're trying to find something on the internet, oh, Google it. Yeah. Right? Well, Microsoft was very jealous of that. Okay. They wanted people, so they came up with Bing. They were hoping people would say, well, let's Bing it. Like, let's Google it, is what they were hoping. And they even, you can go on the internet and you can find videos. They bought advertising in some popular movies. There was one, it was like this, it wasn't a James Bond movie, but it was kind of like a James Bond movie. And there's these two people in the movie walking through a museum. And they're talking about the movie. And they come across this sculptor. And the one guy, oh, that's a really interesting sculpture. And she says, yeah, I've never heard of that guy. I'll Bing it. And everybody laughed at it because nobody says that. But Microsoft bought the commercial inside the movie to try and get, and there's a few examples of them trying to do that. It didn't catch on. But now Internet Explorer, so what happened was Google, when it became popular, they started making a lot of online applications. We talked about that last week, cloud computing. So now you can go to a website to type a letter or to create a spreadsheet or video editing or do photo editing right on a website. You don't have to do it on your computer anymore. You do it through a browser. Well, Google was getting very frustrated because Internet Explorer was slow and clunky. It was not working well with the software that they were developing. So Google came up with their own browser and they named it Chrome. Now that confuses people because wait, is Google a web page or is it a browser? It's both now, right? The browser is called Chrome, made by Google. The website is still called google.com, and it is still a search engine. It just allows you to search for keywords. But they also have their own browser now. Safari is the browser that you get if you own an Apple computer. That's made by Apple, and it comes with your Apple computers and your iPhones. Safari does. Firefox is another popular browser, and they're all free. And you can download them all for free. You can have 4 of them on your computer if you want. And it's not a bad idea to have a second one because sometimes a website opens well in Chrome, but not in Internet Explorer, which nowadays they call it Edge.
Yeah.
Right, so Microsoft realized they ruined the brand name of Internet Explorer. So they call it Edge now. It's the same thing. It's still a Bluey, but they call it Edge because Internet Explorer kind of got a bad rap for being slow and clunky.
Those 4 browsers, or there are many more?
There's many more. There's a popular browser called DuckDuckGo, which promises not to share your data.
So, the question is, how do you know if those are browsers?
How do you know they're browsers? Because I'm teaching you today.
Okay. No, but I'm saying, like, remember how I came to you and I'm like, oh, I always thought that was the internet. Oh, that was the internet. So, really, going on the phone, trying to learn it, and don't know much about the internet, then I go on Chrome, which I thought was a way to go search on the internet, right?
Well,
it was a browser, which
but so remember, so a search engine is a type of website,
okay,
right?
right.
A browser is the program that you use to open all websites. All websites. So you can use the Chrome browser to open yahoo.com, which is a search engine, or CNN.com, or ecpl.org for the library, or google.com. You can use the Chrome browser to open any website. And there are many types of websites out there. Early websites were static pages. Let's take a look. That's not what I want. Early websites were static pages. That's a type of web page, just a website, like an advertisement from your insurance company. Here's my phone number. Search engines is also a type of website. It's a website that lets you search the internet for keywords. So it also opens in your browser. All websites open in your browser. Nowadays, we have, they call it Web 2.0, is what they call it. And early web pages, you opened a website and you read the information on the page, and you could maybe click to other pages and read that information. That's all you could do. Once we all got high-speed internet at home, when we didn't have to dial up, when the internet was on all the time, and the computers were cheaper and communication was faster, well, then websites started becoming interactive. Okay? It wasn't just a static thing you read. It was now a website, like a social networking website like Facebook, where you could put your own information on that website and share it with other people. Okay? That was a pretty big deal when it started coming around, because now the internet wasn't just static pages for your information. It was an interactive thing. Okay? And not only could you upload information, but the companies that are providing information or the browser could also collect information about your usage of the internet as well. Okay. And people ask me, is Google looking at my information? Yes, they are. And in many, many cases, it's very helpful. In many cases, you want it to be that way. For example, remember I told you that the early internet, everybody said it's great, but I can't find anything? Well, Google is one of those first companies to say, well, if somebody searches for Jackie Chan and they click on that website, make that website rise up higher in the list, right? That's using information from the public. The most popular websites rose up to the top. So Google early on started using information from users to improve the results on their website, right? Do they know who you are? No, they know your IP address, but they can't tie that to you, right?
Right.
You know, even if you sign up for a Google account and you put in your name, you know, and get an email address, they still don't know it's you because they don't make you show an ID for an email address or an account, right? So you can just sign up for a Google account as Donald Trump, you know, and search all you want. They can't tie it to you. Are they using your information? Yes. And in many ways, it does improve the experience. What most people don't like is the advertisements. Because you search for a pair of shoes, and then you go to read the news on CNN, and you see all these advertisements for shoes. Did it collect that information from you? It did. Doesn't really know who you are, but it still unnerves people. Here's the, huh? Right.
It becomes part of your algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my friend, she's so paranoid, she said, why should you say by the phone, because it actually intakes our whole conversation, I'm like, no, it doesn't do all that.
It doesn't do that. But it does stay on and listen. It does stay on and listen because nowadays, all right, have a good one. Good, thanks for coming. It does stay on and listen because I can say like, hey, Google,
Yeah.
what's the weather outside?
In East Chicago, it's 88 and mostly sunny. Today, it'll be sunny with a high of 88 and a low of 67.
It's 88 outside?
Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't see the weather before you came out? No.
This morning, it wasn't that. It was 71 degrees this morning when I left the house.
I came out, it was around about 60. I was out around about 4 o'clock.
Wow. Yeah, I know. Okay. So, it's the phone is listening for you to address it. It's not listening to everything. And I hear people all the time, well, I know my phone is listening to me because I was talking to somebody about something and then I got an advertisement right away on my phone, so it was listening to me. It's not doing that. But we do have algorithms that can pay attention to what you're doing on the phone and figure you out real quick. So it doesn't have to listen to you. You're just that easy to figure out. As a matter of fact, so Target learned, the department store Target learned how to tell if a woman was pregnant based on some of the things she bought.
Right.
So then they would start advertising and marketing things to that person at home for pregnancy things. And there was a man in Wisconsin, I think it was Wisconsin, you can Google it, it really happened. It was a really interesting story. His young daughter, 16, 17-year-old daughter, started getting advertisements addressed to her from Target on pregnancy things. And it upset the father. And the father went into his local Target and talked to the manager and said, I want this to stop. And the manager of the Target said, this comes from the corporate office, but I will make sure it stops. I will call the corporate office and make sure that you don't get any more advertisements. And he did. And afterwards, he called the father at home and he said, I talked to corporate. I made sure that they're not going to send you anything else. And the father said, well, I learned something and my daughter is pregnant. And Target outed her as being pregnant to her father simply by the algorithm that they were using to kind of watch. And it's not a person, it's a computer program. And it's the same kind of computer program that when you choose what to watch on Netflix will recommend you might like these things. It's based on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and it does a really good job of trying to guess what you want to see next. 1 minute, artist. Go ahead.
So my point is, well, I never looked it up, but what does algorithm have to be? I know it has to be math.
It does have to do with math. You know what? Let's look. What is the exact definition of an algorithm? What is the definition of an algorithm? A process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations, especially on a computer. So it's a little computer program that analyzes information and tries to come up with conclusions.
So the program, like, COBOL,
Right, yes. Probably not COBOL anymore, but that's the whole thing, yeah.
But you know, they've been doing this for a while.
Mhm.
Because I know when I was growing up, and these were some years back, what they used to do is send people surveys. And a
Yeah.
survey, and then once they get the survey back, then they can tell what product or what race of people, who lives here, who lives there, the type of people that live there,
Yeah,
and what they like and what they don't like. And then the computer made it easier
yeah,
because once they incorporated this information, a lot of times before they did it, they had to do it themselves. But then when they put it into the computer does it so much faster, and it gives you a printout of what you want to find out who enjoy this, who don't enjoy that.
yeah,
And that's also part of your rhythm and everything like that they do to find out what products that they, because they don't push anything that they don't think the people is going to enjoy. And,
Right.
and it basically what sells and what don't.
yeah. So he's right. These algorithms have been around for a long time. You know, when you type a text message and it guesses the next word, machine learning algorithms are learning the way you type and paying attention to what you type so it can predict, make it easier for you to type. Artificial intelligence now and machine learning is raised that up to the next level pretty quick. So the next 3 classes we have next week is using a modern browser. We just talk about using a browser to look at websites. We look at Google searches. We learn how browsers can save your passwords and automatically fill in forms. The week after that, we're talking about safety and security on the internet. Understanding what information you're sharing with other people, what is safe and what isn't safe, how these algorithms work, and what they're looking at when they're gathering data from us. A lot of times the data that they're gathering from us is very useful to how our machines work, how our cars work, how our phones work. Other times they track your location. There's some things you do need to worry about. So that's why we have these classes. And then after the safety and security on the internet class, we have a class on artificial intelligence. Okay, and we teach you how to use it, but we also teach you it's a tool. Like a pencil is a tool. And a pencil can be used for good and evil. Okay? You know who has the monopoly on evil? People, not machines.
Yep.
People have the monopoly on evil. Right? So it's not the machines causing the problem. Understanding how they work, and artificial intelligence is a very useful tool, and it's going to be changing everything quickly. And we need to know how it works, and we need to prepare ourselves for this onslaught. But and if you come to all those classes, we'll address that algorithm a little bit more. Okay. Yeah. Right, we talk about that in the safety and security in the internet class. Right, that is a secure connection to a web page. So what that does is that scrambles and encrypts the data on your computer before it sends it over the internet. And then the website unencrypts it. So you can send credit card data, social security numbers over the internet securely. And you know, remember the old TV shows where like the FBI van would park across the street and tap somebody's phone? You can still do that with internet data. You can just clip a wire on an internet line and you can see the numbers going across. But if it's encrypted, you can't decode it. So that secure connection to a website is telling you, almost all websites these days are secured, whether browsers started warning you if you weren't on a secure website. And then, so everybody said, well, I don't want people to get a warning before they go to my website, so I'll just make it secure. So even the library's website is secure, and there's really no information that needs to be secure between me and the library, but it's secure anyway. We talk about that in the... So another type of web page, social networking, is when websites started becoming interactive, where you could add your own information and you could communicate with people. And that was really a big deal. That's a different type of website. And then cloud computing and cloud storage started coming on the scene. We knew this was coming back in the 90s. We talked about this in the 90s when I was a computer guy. We knew that we would be typing a letter and doing a spreadsheet, not on our computer, but on a computer out on the internet someplace. It just made sense. It took a long time for computers to become powerful enough and for the internet to become fast enough and cheap enough for everybody to have it, for that stuff to actually start making sense. But with cloud computing and cloud storage, we talked about it last week, that's when you're using a fully operational computer program, not installed on your computer. It's on a computer on the internet, and you're accessing it through the browser. Think of that browser like a window to other computers out on the internet. That's what a browser is showing you, okay? And on your phone, this is a cloud-based device. You open up a website, and even these apps, they're pulling data from, when I pull up my weather app, it's actually looking at data on a computer at WGN to tell me what the weather is, right? Or weather.com. CNN, you go to a website, CNN.com, you're looking at a computer that's probably down in Atlanta at CNN's headquarters, and you're using your computer to look at information on that computer from afar, okay? So that's why browsers are so important, because so much of what we do nowadays goes through a browser. Our email, typing a letter, creating a spreadsheet, editing a video, social networking, watching a movie, I can just open a browser and I can watch a high definition movie right on a browser now. So much of that goes through a browser that the browsers were originally really, really simple things. Now they're a lot more complicated. We talked about this before. The internet and the cloud is the same thing. People call it the cloud because you don't know where something is sitting, right? If I told you that the website for East Chicago Public Library is sitting on a big computer back here, now you know. But before that, you didn't know where it was. As far as you knew, it was out in the cloud someplace. And that's why I think they started calling the internet the cloud, just an informal way of saying it's out there somewhere, I don't know where. Oftentimes, it's in multiple places. Like your email with Gmail, it's in a big data center. And those data centers tend to be duplicated in different parts of the country. So if there's a big blackout on the East Coast, the data center with your email on the West Coast would take over and show you your email. I went and toured a data center in Colorado, the big 5-story old cigar factory. And you couldn't tell it was a data center. It still had this name of the cigar factory above the door, right? And then you go in and it's very secure because the data in that data center is financial data, medical data, very proprietary company data, very secure. That's why they don't advertise it's a data center. So we go in and the first room looked like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. All TVs and people watching news from all over the world to look for natural disasters, right? And they described the data. We took a tour, but we were IT people, They said, oh yeah, we have power coming into this building from both sides of the building. So if something happens to the power on that side of the street, we still got power on this side of the street. This data center is copied to the West Coast data center on the West Coast and the data center on the East Coast. So if it goes down on the East Coast, you know, you'll still have data here.
But they put the data center in the center.
Well, they had one in Colorado, they had one on the East Coast, and so, you know, and then they had one on the West Coast. Somebody said, well, what if all three go down? Then how do I get my data? And they said, if all three data centers go down, the last thing you're going to be worried about is your data, because something really bad is happening.
I think the military took a lesson from that because they had a big fire where they kept a lot of their data on service people. All our contracts, everything, the stuff that we did.
Yeah.
And I think it was in St. Louis somewhere. And they kept, say, 65 to 80% of the information there. That whole place caught on fire and burn up all that information. So they had to go back and try to recoup that, get that information back, because service people were going back on different information about different things and stuff. And at the time, they couldn't give it to them
Yeah.
because of that center that burned down. And I think that's what they started doing.
Yeah. So right.
Have information at about 4 different locations now.
Well, nowadays, security isn't as tight in a library. You know, I used to make the joke that, oh, the Chinese hacked into my server. Now they know all the books we have. Right? Who cares? But there is some sensitive data that we do have here. I mean, we have social security numbers, we have employees, we have payroll that has to get done. And we do have a big database that stores every book that we have in the library, everyone that's checked out, everybody's library card. That's a lot of information. More and more of that information is being moved up into the cloud. It helps me sleep better at night if I don't have to worry, because nowadays we have people attacking businesses and locking up their data and then asking for a ransom to get that data back. There was a library, more than one, but I remember the first time it happened, a library down in, I think it was Fishers, Indiana. Their public library, somebody hacked in and they had all the data on a big server and they locked it all up. So you came into work the next day, nobody could get into their computers, the card catalog was down, nobody could check out a book, right? And they said, I think they were asking for like $20,000 to get the data back. And the computer guy said, oh, it's okay, I got a backup. We'll just restore the backup. Well, the hackers got into the backup and locked it up too. So they had to go to the board of directors and they had to ask for a $20,000 ransom. Because think about that. I mean, if a hacker got into here and locked up, I mean, that's everybody who owns a library card. How do we get that information back? Right? I mean, the books, we could start recataloging all the books, which, you know how many books there are here? 500,000 books in these libraries. That would take weeks and weeks and weeks and time and money. It would cost more than $20,000 just to rebuild it all. So, and then the board of directors approved it. They didn't know if they'd get it back. You could pay them $20,000. They could say, we want 20 more. You don't know. Right. They got their information back, but they had to pay a ransom. So nowadays, like one of my priorities when I got the job here was we need to get the sensitive data off of our computers here. It's a liability. It's risky because hackers are good. Yeah. And I mean, I have a good backup system, but you never know. So I still have like people's computers here getting backed up and those backups getting shipped off site to a safe cloud-based storage location. So if somebody does get hacked and locked up, like my director could come in and her computer could be locked up. And that's okay. We got a backup. We'll restore the backup and be back in business. But these are things that you have to think about. And that's why using cloud storage in a data center that is duplicated in multiple places is actually a pretty safe way to go. As long as the cloud computing company that you're working with is legitimate. There was one cloud storage company that was trafficking a lot in copyrighted movies. They were distributing a lot of copyright content. The FBI went and locked them up. Said, no, you're doing something illegal. But a lot of people had their backups there. And they said to the FBI, well, I wasn't trafficking in movies. I need my data back. And the FBI said, can I get it back? They lost their data. So it's not without risk, but like Google, Apple has iCloud, Google has Google Drive, and there are a lot of legitimate companies. Amazon has online servers where you can run applications. Yeah. So like our card catalog and the software that runs the entire library, checks books in and out, and keeps track of all that. I have that on Amazon servers now. So I feel safe that, I'm not going to get hacked. I'm going to get ransomed. You can have more. You can have more than 2 if you want. And many of them are free. Some of them cost money, depending on how much storage you need. I pay Google a little bit of money every month. They have more storage because I use it a lot. But the free storage is quite a bit. I'm only paying like $1.99 a month
Message seems incomplete.
for a lot of. My phone's listening. Sorry. Listening. It's true. Okay. So using a search engine, I'm going to show you this really quick. We're almost done today, but let's just show you quick. And we'll revisit this. I'm going to go to google.com. I'm in a Chrome browser made by Google, but I'm using the browser to go to google.com. I just typed in the address bar up here, google.com, and I hit enter, and it opens the web page, google.com. This is what we call an address bar. If you know the name of the web page you want to go to, type it in the address bar and hit enter. CNN.com. I type in CNN.com and hit enter. It goes online. It goes to the computer that is hosting. Oh, I've never been here before. So here's CNN.com. Google is a search engine. So it is the company that makes the browser, but it is also still a web page that will allow you to search the internet for keywords. So for example, if I start typing in Jackie Chan, first thing it's going to do is it's going to try to guess what I'm looking for to save me time typing. Oh, do you want Jackie Mason? Oh, here we go. Oh. You want Jackie Robinson? Jackie Joseph, I don't know who that is. She's an actress. Or Jackie Chan, and that's what I was looking for, Jackie Chan. So I can just choose Jackie Chan, and it pulls up search results for the Hong Kong actor, Jackie Chan. Gives you an overview of his movies. And then it will start giving you web pages where Jackie Chan's name appears. Google used to give you a total. We have found this many websites in this many seconds. It doesn't do that anymore. But now we're starting to see the search results of the web page. So when you see search results of websites, it'll tell you the name of the website, Wikipedia, and it'll give you a little synopsis, and this is a link. You can click on that link, and it'll open that web page, Wikipedia. Wikipedia is an online encyclopedia that anybody can add to. Anybody in the world, you can just sign up for a free Wikipedia account, and you can add information to it. And I have, we've had workshops at library conferences and the library here because, some of the librarians here are experts in things in East Chicago. Right? So there's an East Chicago page on Wikipedia. Yeah, and some of our librarians have gone on and put information in there. But you think to yourself, well, wait a minute. if anybody can edit it, how can it possibly be right? Right? It surprisingly is right. And study after study after study shows that it is more reliable than the information you get on an encyclopedia on the shelf. Why is that? Well, for one thing, once it's printed, if it's wrong, it's on the shelf. It's going to stay wrong. You can't change it.
Right.
But if it's wrong on Wikipedia, somebody can go in there and change it. Here's an interesting little anecdote about that. There was a scientist, a woman scientist, who would be stuck on a professional problem. So she would go to the internet and she would ask people for help. Oh, I'm having trouble figuring this out. Can anybody help me? And she wouldn't get any response. So she had an idea one day. She logged out and she logged in as somebody else and answered her own question incorrectly. And then she got a flood of responses telling that person they were wrong. So here's the thing. People won't necessarily volunteer to put information on the encyclopedia, but they are very eager to tell you you're wrong.
Right.
So if there's something wrong on there, somebody will tell you they're wrong. If people delight in going in there and saying it's wrong. And Wikipedia makes people cite their sources, right?
Oh, okay.
Sometimes if there's something in Wikipedia that they didn't cite, you'll see a little citation needed, saying, well, they're asserting this, but there's no citation to it. But you can click on the citation and you can see where they got the information. If somebody dies, they typically lock down the web page because for some reason people like to go and make salacious updates. Like when Michael Jackson died, they locked up his page. And they wouldn't. As a matter of fact, somebody went and edited his Wikipedia page to say that he had died like an hour before he died. Somebody saw him going to the hospital or something and ran to the Wikipedia and updated it. And then, but he wasn't dead yet.
Right.
So when he did die, they realized, whoa, somebody already went on here and updated the page. They'll typically lock down the Wikipedia pages. So if we look at some more search results, here is a Jackie Chan page on IMDb, which is the Internet Movie Database. Which is a very interesting website. It's just a big database of movies and all the actors who are in the movies. You can click on an actor and it'll take you to all the movies that that person was in. You can click on one of those movies, it'll show you all the actors who were in that movie. It's like a rabbit hole. It's really, if you like movies, it's really fun. And we'll pull it up when we're watching a movie, because how often do you watch a movie and go, I recognize that person from someplace. Where do I know that person from? You can look up the movie, you can see who that was, and you can click on their name, and you can see all the stuff that that person was in. So it's actually pretty fun. Okay, look, third result down is Jackie Chan's official website. So Jackie Chan's official website isn't even the top of the list. But this is how a search engine works. And we'll talk about it more using the browser next week, because you don't have to search just for website results. You can come up here and you can say, you know what, just show me images of Jackie Chan. I only want to search the internet for images of Jackie Chan, or just show me news about Jackie Chan. Because sometimes when you're searching the internet, you're not looking for a web page. You might be looking for current news, right? You might be looking for shopping results. They even have shopping up here as a result. So maybe you were looking to buy a Jackie Chan movie. If I click on news, I know he had a very popular, The Shadow's Edge is a movie that just released in China that he's in. He's up there in age now. I don't know how acrobatic he is anymore, but he's in a new movie in China that is super popular. He's like back on top as a prone cop turned dog walker. I don't know what. I used to watch a lot of Jackie Chan movies. I haven't lately, but this one isn't dubbed yet. So if you watch it, you'd be reading subtitles. I've been kind of interested to see what that is. So this is basically how a search engine works. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today is I'm just going to tell you about some interesting web pages that are out there. I already told you about wikipedia.org. Really informative. And if you see something wrong on it, feel free to change it. If you're wrong, somebody will tell you. Internet Movie Database, imdb.com is another one. YouTube.com. YouTube.com is it's a website that anybody in the world can upload videos to and share it with everybody. Or you can even keep it private and share it with a small group of people. But nowadays, we all have video cameras on our phones. You can very easily videotape something, and with 2 clicks, upload it to YouTube and share it with the whole world to see. Okay? You can basically broadcast yourself worldwide in minutes with your phone and YouTube.com. So YouTube.com, not only does it have, you know, comedians and news and podcasts, but it has a lot of very informative videos for things like hanging drywall or fixing the valve cover gaskets on a 1977 Chrysler Cordoba, which I actually looked up. And there's actually a mechanic who was doing it, put a camera up and said, oh, this is how you do it, and just walked you through doing your own car repair, you know? So there's lots of very good informative videos. There's lots of garbage. Once you watch enough of these videos that anybody in the world can upload, you realize why an editor is a good job, because people don't always edit themselves as well as they should. ChatGPT is artificial intelligence. It's conversational artificial intelligence. We're going to have a whole course on that in a few weeks. We actually taught machines how to learn and speak. Not pretend how to learn and speak, actually speak, know what they're saying, and actually learn. It's crazy. Yeah. So Snopes.com is a great website to go to, because on social networking on the internet, a lot of hoaxes get passed off out there. They're trying to trick people into sharing things that aren't true. I don't know why, but Snopes.com, you can go on Snopes.com and you can see if something you saw on the internet is a hoax. A lot of times it's a common hoax thing. There was one going around for a long time. Bye, Lisa. Good to see you. Okay. There was a hoax going around for a long time that if you forwarded this email to a bunch of people, Bill Gates would send you $1. Fake. But enough people shared it that it made Snopes.com. And then there's politifact.org and factcheck.org. Both are fact-checking websites. PolitiFact is more political. So they have a nonpartisan group who will analyze what politicians say, and they will grade it on whether it was true or not true. Factcheck.org, they have a little meter. Pants on fire is the biggest lie you can tell. Partially true. Some things that you see on the internet are partially true. But those are websites that are very useful because the internet is a free place, and there's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of great information, but it's just another tool that can be used for good or bad. And politifact.org and factcheck.org are 2 good websites for that.
How do you do it? You want to find the really old music, LP, sometimes radio.
Well, I would start with just a Google search for what you're looking for. And that's going to give you a list of websites that might have found the keywords that you were looking for. Like, what kind of music are you looking for?
One's a really old female singer.
So you could just do a Google search for the singer. There are websites out there that allow you to just play music. Like I use YouTube Music. I pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. You'll get commercials. YouTube Music is $10 a month. They'll give you a free month just to see if you like it. And I hook my phone up to my car and I listen to a lot of music, and I'm a musician. So I just signed up for the free month to see what it was like. Oh my gosh, it was so useful. That is totally worth $10 a month for me. Because it's every album, every artist you can possibly think of, commercial free for $10 a month. And I can play it through my car, and you can make playlist. Oh, I use it all the time. It's absolutely amazing. But you can still go on a lot of these websites and listen to music. I mean, you just have to listen to a commercial every so often for free. You're right. Then there's no commercials. Yeah, so what artist are you talking about? A Quiet Place. I know the song A Quiet Place. Yeah, that's from a movie too, isn't it? There was a movie called A Quiet Place. Whitney Houston. Okay. Oh, Hugh Hefner? She would sing at the mansion. Okay.
Is she black or white? Okay. And she's from the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Patty Payne.
I can almost say her name, but it just won't come out.
My vocalist. White female vocalist Hugh Hefner. I'm going to do a Google search of white female vocalist Hugh Hefner. Barbie Benton? I remember Barbie Benton.
What country?
Ella Fitzgerald wasn't Caucasian.
They used to play, they used to show after midnight. When Hef would have his guests. So
Yes, I remember that After Midnight musical guests.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes.
would be on,
Frank
or
Sinatra,
artists.
Grateful Dead was on it once. I remember that. Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably some video of this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who? You can still find them on YouTube.
Yeah.
There are still some of those performances on YouTube. Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's all we got for today. Thank you for coming. I'll make sure that you get a reminder call next Friday about using a modern browser.
Okay, great.
And great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Have a good one.
What was that? No, the next 3 classes are still going to be lecture only like this. And then we start doing hands-on classes. We do 6 6 lecture and 6 hands-on. And then when those hands-on classes come, we provide you with a laptop. So you won't have to bring in your own stuff. Sure. Okay. In Google Photos.
Yes. But I have more pictures of it, but I can't find them.
Okay. Let's take a look here. So you should have a gallery that would show you maybe more photos. Gallery.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look in your files.
Same pictures.
After hours.
Are these different or are these same ones?
These are different.
These are different? Okay.
And I have some more. I can't get to.
Okay, well, those were in a folder called images, and what I could do is I could tell Google Photos to look in that folder. You've got some videos in here,
Yes.
internal storage, safe folder, other storage. Downloads, images, apps.
I'm going to find one of the third things. Okay, that you might have written, but I-
PCIM. I wonder if that's what. So DCIM is a folder that cameras make. These look like the same ones we were just looking at.
Yeah.
How did they get onto this? Were they taken with this camera?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, 1960s time capsule.
These are messages and screenshots.
So how do I delete all of this? Oh,
The calls? I don't know if you can. I think it's just a history. It's not taking up much space.
no,
So if you look at the call history, I don't know if you can, so recent calls here. Yeah, I wonder if you can swipe them away. I don't think you can delete these.
okay. But I want to find those pictures. They're very important to me.
You can delete,
But that's okay about the delete. I just,
but I mean, it doesn't really do much. It's just showing you that somebody called you at a particular time of day.
right.
So in Google Photos, what Google Photos does is it shows you photos that are on the device, but it'll also show you photos that are on the internet that are not on the phone at all. I wonder
I
if
found them one time, but I can't find them again.
I wonder if you have more than one Google account. Oh, look at that. You're not signed into a Google account. Do you have a Gmail address? Let's take a look at your account information here. So remember, were you in the phone class last week?
Yes, I was.
So remember when I said that what you see on the phone isn't always what's on the phone? It's a lot of times it's what you're seeing on the internet. I wonder if what you were seeing was not on the phone, they were in your Google account. I'm gonna look to see what Google account you have set up in here. Passwords and accounts.
I don't know.
You don't, you know what? It looks to me like you used to have this set up to a Google account and it's not anymore. Do you have a Gmail address? Did you ever have a Gmail?
But I don't remember. Like I said, I had that phone about 3 months. And, I got it from,
You bought this from Walmart 3 months ago?
yes, and then, that's AT&T, so they wouldn't give me my same, phone number, nothing. So they couldn't do it.
Do you have an old phone at home?
Yeah,
We might be able to glean we might be able to figure out what your Gmail account was from your old phone if it still works. And then my guess is those photos you're looking for are in that Google account.
but it was a flip phone.
Oh, it wasn't a smartphone?
Mm,
You used to have a Gmail address.
I found out
Any way you
everything.
can find out what that is, look around. Did you write that down anywhere? Anybody that you know, did you email them? Did they know your Gmail address?
I never emailed nobody.
Well, these smartphones typically, the first thing it asks you when you open this phone and start it up is you need to create a Google account. Now, if you created a Google account and your pictures are in there, and then you removed it from the phone, that Google account still exists. You can still get to it. And I worry that your photos are in that Google account on your Gmail address. You didn't have to use the email for that to happen. Look around at home. See if you can find any information on a Gmail address that you might have had.
Okay.
And if we can find that, come into help desk, and then maybe we can figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
All right, you too. Have a nice weekend. Hey, Manny, how you doing?